All right, Problem Gambling is a great supporter of ours on AFL Live, and it's affected a lot of people over the years, Moons, and it's been well documented that some footballers have been affected by that over the years. A gentleman who played 136 games for Melbourne from 1998 to 2007 is one of those, Daniel Ward, and Daniel's been good enough to give us some of his time on AFL Live. Daniel, thanks for joining us.
No worries, boys. How you going?
Yeah, we're well, and we treat this issue very seriously because, as you know, we do have the support of Gamblers Help Online, which really does a great job supporting AFL Live and getting the message around Australia. And it is a period of your life that you look back on and probably wish that you could have changed it. Can you just give us a bit of background as to how it all started for you and how the problem started?
Yeah, and that's what I sort of get around the football clubs and talk about is how it sort of started from sort of gambling $5, $10 here and there with mates and just a bit of enjoyment. Obviously, AFL players in particular can't do a lot of the stuff that their mates are doing and how it sort of grew, what sort of signs there were along the way. And exactly like you said, if I could take, go back in time and change what I went through, I would, but I can't now. And one of the things of being involved with these programs is to help people to make those decisions so they don't go down the same path.
And I guess, Daniel, that's one of the hardest things, that when you start living the lie, then it becomes really difficult to get out of that. And you start lying to people in these circumstances and finding ways to justify it. If you can stop that process and nip it in the bud straight away, you've got a lot more chance of being helped.
Yeah, definitely. And look, when we do these talks, it's by no means am I saying, no betting, no gambling. It's like I said, if you can control it and you're honest with your partner or whoever it may be about how much you spent and all that type of stuff, and you set limits and you stick to that, there's no issue whatsoever. I've got, heaps of friends who gamble, but for me, I couldn't control it, and that's when the dishonesty come into it, and borrowing of money and all that type of stuff that, I'm sure I know there's a lot of people that go through those things, and it's just about putting steps in place to help them and just let them know that there is help out there for them.
Wardy Moons here, mate. Thanks for joining us, buddy. Just want to ask, through all this, when it was going on, when did you sit there and go, you know what, I'm at my lowest point?
Mate, probably my lowest point was, and I've done a couple of newspaper articles, but when my lowest point was sitting in a addiction clinic 2 years ago. I'm 2 years clean tomorrow, so 2 years ago now, when I had to leave my family, young family, and go to Adelaide for a month, and being there with other addicts, drug addicts, and alcoholics and the like, and it was basically, my bag was searched and all that type of stuff for, making sure I didn't bring anything in that was going to harm anybody else in the house. And I was there for a month, and basically just broke down. Like, how did it get to that stage? And that was my lowest part, mate, 2 years ago. And luckily, I spent the next month there and learned so much, and have managed to turn my life around. But like I said, being 2 years down the track, I'm still only one bet away from being back down the same position. So go on, mate.
No, so I was just going to say, we know you and Ox were great mates back in the Demons days, and we know about what Ox went through as well. Do you guys still keep in contact, and was he a huge, like a resource, I guess, for you when you were going through all this?
Yeah, we still keep in contact, and I suppose, and I still go to Gamblers Anonymous meetings and the like, and I suppose the link I have with Ox is that he understands, and when I was at that lowest ebb, that Ox was one of the people that I went and spoke to, and how do I get out of it? I want to stop. What do I do? I basically had enough, and Ox was there for me, and I do keep in contact with him, and that's just that. Obviously, he's been through it, and but look, I take a little bit out of what he's done, because it's stuff where he doesn't go to spring carnival, he doesn't do any of that, he goes fishing for 2 weeks or whatever, and all the stuff that he's put in place about handling of money. A lot of people out there, would think that it's, crazy to have to give receipts and for $10 and $20. That's what my life was for, especially the first year, and that's where I had to get to, because as gambling addicts, well, for me, I can't handle money, so I'm getting better at that. But I definitely learn a lot off Ox in that regard.
Woody, speaking of Ox, I've read his book, and it is a fascinating read. It's a frightening read, but one thing that kept on coming back to me was the support of his wife, Karen, and the fact that she was prepared to forgive everything that he did. And your partner, your wife, Melanie, is very much in the same boat. She's been a tower of strength for you in this regard. Yeah,
very lucky, and we're both, and, Karen's a ripper, and, I'm very lucky I've got the same, so... No, Mel's been, 2 years ago, I basically got to a stage where I couldn't stop myself, and Mel, and along with other members of my family and friends, organised an intervention to get me some help, because I wasn't strong enough, if you like, to stop by myself. And so she's been an amazing support, all the way through that. And then obviously over the last 2 years, like I said, since that 2 year period, life's gotten better, and we're now she's 7 weeks away from having our second child. That she wouldn't have been able to trust me to do that if I hadn't cleaned my act up. So yeah, I'm very lucky to have her.
And just what about footy? What are you still involved up near Swan Hill with? Is it Marley Eagles or Mallee Eagles?
Mallee Eagles. Yeah.
How's that all going, bud?
No, we're not going great. We're 2-6 at the moment, second last. I can't get on the park. I keep rolling my ankles. I'm carrying a little bit of extra weight these days, so I can't.
Oh, don't worry, that happens to the best of us, buddy.
But I'm enjoying that. I'm playing coach, so it's I don't think I want to get into assistant coaching or anything like that. I just enjoy having my own group, and I enjoy working with the young blokes there and watching them come through Colts and then to play senior footy. So. Yeah, I'm enjoying that.
Hey, Wardy, just quickly, is it being in that team environment, is that great for you? Just having that support of all the boys in a football club?
Yeah, I'm very lucky. Look, I was playing there 2 years ago when I had to take a month off. I basically I had to take a month off from everything, go to Adelaide. So, they gave me a month off, and then my employer, I worked for Conica Minolta, and I just started there, and they gave me a month off as well to go and get some help, and I'm still with them. So I'm very lucky that I've had that support, not just from family and friends, but my employees as well. So, yeah, I'm very lucky.
Wardy, we really appreciate the fact that you've taken the time and been so open about what has happened. What you are saying now will quite possibly be striking a chord with someone listening to us on AFL Live around Australia. What would you say to that person or those persons if it does seem familiar to them? What's the first step? What do they do from here?
I think it's just asking for help. I think people these days are more understanding. If people are going through some issues, but you're willing to put your hand up and say, look, I can't handle this. How do I get some help? I think that's the first step. And the point you made before about being honest, if you're not honest with anyone else, maybe just being honest with yourself.
Yep.
And that with my addiction, I probably thought it was too big, and the debt that I owed and all that type of stuff, no one would understand. I was stuffed up again. All that type of stuff goes through your head where, I can't tell anyone. I think it's just that, like I said, people are more and more understanding. So, I can't tell you how good the last 2 years of my life have been. And, I'm 34 now. I wish I did stop at 22, but I stopped at 32. So, I've got a future to look forward to, and, I'm the happiest I've been. So that's what I'd say.
That's great to hear. Thanks for your time, Daniel. We really appreciate the fact you've taken the time to have a chat to us, and the best of luck for impending fatherhood coming up in a few weeks' time with you and Melanie.
No worries. Thanks, boys.
Daniel Wardy.
Daniel Ward joining us, who played 136 games for Melbourne from 1998 to 2007. It's a lesson. It can happen to any of us.
It's quite scary how quickly your life can just plummet.
1-800-858-858 is Gamblers Help's number if you're feeling the same as Daniel Warden and just hearing something that might be all too familiar. 1-800-858-858 or gamblinghelponline.org.au for information and confidential support.